Fun Antilles. Woohoo! We got live. Time to drop the YouTube links, though. You were good. You found it. You went online and found it.
Me?
Yeah. How'd you find that?
Oh, I was on my actual computer and I just had YouTube open and it was actually like one of my recommended, and
Oh,
so I
yeah,
just
it does
grabbed
the
it.
preview thing. Oh, okay. I'm gonna have to
Yep.
remember that. Okay. Are you ready? I'm ready.
I am ready.
All right. So we're gonna do, for those who are joining us now, which there's no one looking now, um, we're gonna go news, Bad Batch, Out of the Shadows. So to kind of
Cool.
give you an idea of what we're looking for. But from here, let's do it. Hopefully I can get this one right. I recorded with Joe earlier today and my brain just could not get it together. And 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Star Wars Alliance podcast, your home on the Geek Ultimate Alliance podcast network for any and all things Star Wars. I'm your host, as always, Katie Rindler, and joining me today, he's been here for the last couple High Republic books, and he's just going to be a regular for this from now on. Clay, host of a lot of things. Clay, how are you doing
Host of
today?
too many things. What's up?
It's just I partied a little too hard this weekend, but I'm getting back on track.
We
Gotta do
were really wondering when you were gonna jump into our Suicide Squad with all your hot takes. But then they
it.
were telling me that you were out for the weekend, so I was like, "Oh, okay, I understand." So,
Yeah, I was on a bachelorette trip, and I had probably 4.5 mimosas Saturday morning, and then I had let's just say way too many drinks Saturday night. Um, and I'm still dealing with the hangover. Like, I
that is
haven't drank that
great.
much since a college party. It wasn't good. And
Drink
I woke up
responsibly, people.
drink responsibly. That's the take for today is not sponsored, but drink responsibly.
Yes.
But had to do it at least once before going into the new job. New job, if you're listening, please don't fire me before I start. With that, I'm gonna drop it into the podcast paperwork side of things. Star Wars Alliance is a part of the Geek Ultimate Alliance podcast network, like I said, where we have shows 6 out of 7 days a week. Mondays we have World's Finest True Believers with Chris one week, and the opposite week we've got Ranger Alliance with Clay, Joe, Tony, and Jake.
Yes.
Yes, I got it right this time. I remembered him. So those are your first two shows to start your week. Tuesdays, you've got DC Alliance with Travis and Clay again.
Yes.
Wednesdays, you've got superhero discussions with Travis and a guest going over all your animated needs. Thursdays, one week you've got Star Wars Alliance with typically Nathan and I, Clay today. And then the opposite week, we've got our newest show, hosted by Joe. It is called Walk Through the Multiverse. I keep thinking of his podcast or his podcast Twitter handle. And I'm like, it's not Walk the Verse. He corrected me on that this morning. um, so Walk Through the Multiverse. It's the newest Geek Ultimate Alliance show. So make sure you check that out. Fridays we've got Marvel Alliance with Brent and Chris. And then on Sundays, most weeks, I'm gonna say, um, you've got Slice of Film with me, of course. We've been doing it today, so come find us. I forgot to post last week's episode, but I'm just gonna roll with it, and we're just gonna
Oops.
take a break. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Sarah. um, the Geek Ultimate Alliance Podcast Network does have a Patreon where we have 2 tiers. $1 helps keep the Kyber Crystals charger on here, and the $5 tier gets y'all ad-free episodes, exclusive episodes, and any early episodes we may drop. Keep an eye on that because we may have a Star Wars one coming your way very soon. Very soon. Uh, if you can't, if you're unable to support us on Patreon, which we completely understand, not everyone is able to, another very good option is to leave a review on your favorite podcatcher of choice, or do the YouTube things like, subscribe, comment. We'll get back to you. We promise. We will. And the last thing I have, as far as paperwork side of things, this podcast does have ads, so unfortunately, we don't get to choose who the ads are from, nor how loud they are, nor how many times you hear the same ad in the same episode. So we're sorry in advance, but we appreciate you listening to the ads as they do help support the network and the podcast as a whole. It probably should have been backwards, the podcast and the network as a whole, but you know what? Roll with it, people. Roll with
It
it.
all works. It all
It all
works.
works. I promise. And then the last thing, we are going to be talking about spoilers for Bad Batch episodes 14 and 15, but we will also be talking about spoilers for Justina Ireland's newest book in the High Republic, Star Wars: The High Republic series. It is a young adult book, um, but it all does flow together. So if you're only reading the adult books, this one still does apply. So as Clay motions to his book copy in the back.
Yeah, I'm trying to grab it. I tried to use the reflection of my camera to try to reach behind me, but I am not that coordinated, so I had to turn around and grab it. So
You know what? You did it. You got the book. So, um, with that, we are gonna go ahead and jump into some news. Not a whole lot to talk about. Just kind of some minor things. However, the first thing I did want to mention is J.W. Rindler, who did a lot of the making of the Star Wars saga books, did pass away from pancreatic cancer. He passed away July 28th. And so he's very well known to Star Wars fans, and we just wanted to say thank you for all you did to the Star Wars community, and rest in peace. Um, so
I was not familiar with this author, but once I saw the article, saw who it was, and saw the books that he actually did. I used to see those Art of Star Wars books all the time, surprisingly in my comic shop. But I see them all the time, or I used to, whenever I would actually go inside of a Barnes and Noble. Uh, but it is, I would just say, cancer sucks.
yeah,
That's just something unfortunate that uh, people have to go through, and it just sucks.
yeah. Cancer really does suck. He was an incredible writer. I didn't actually get into a lot of the making of Star Wars books, but the making of Empire Strikes Back is was one that I would constantly pull up in a library and just kind of look at. So very sad, and it sucks. Um, and I'll just leave it at that because cancer sucks. Um, so with that, transitioning to different topics. There's not really a great way to transition from that, y'all. I'm sorry. Um, but I wanted to just make sure we mentioned that. Um, Andor is still filming as of now, and they have added. It looks like they've added a new cast member to the series. Uh, his name is Alex Lother, and it's an unspecified role that we don't know how big it will play. He is British, and he's best known for his turn in End of the Fucking World. and he recently starred in The French Dispatch and is set to appear alongside Adam Driver and Matt Damon in The Last Duel, which I know Snell didn't like that one, like the trailer for that, but I was keenly interested. So,
He is intrigued by of course, his love affair that he has with Adam Driver, but I think he is more so kind of disappointed in like the weirdness that is Ben Affleck in that movie.
yeah.
He like aesthetically, you just see Ben Affleck, and he kind of seems out of place in that movie. So we'll see. I'm interested.
For me, I guess an actor is an actor, and that's kind of the downside with these actors coming back from prominent comic book movies, is that now, and I've talked about this several times, so y'all, I'm sorry if you've heard it, but I'm gonna say it again. Now you're just like, "Oh, that's Batman. Oh, that's Superman. Oh, that's Lex Luthor." So it is what it
I
is.
don't know. I feel like Ben Affleck is more than Batman because of who he was before he was Batman. He was Ben Affleck. He is Ben
Yeah.
Affleck. But you are right in that sentiment. I think that just because of how crazy people have kind of made comic book movies to be nowadays in this
Mhm.
day and age, that is exactly what people will see. And I know we had a discussion on DC Alliance, and it kind of got heated, but the typecasting is unfortunately something that happens and something that actors or actresses are afraid of. I know that like Robert Downey Jr. for the longest time was talking about how he didn't want to get typecasted, so he wanted to get out
Yeah.
of the whole thing with Marvel, and they just kept giving him money, and he was like, "Okay, cool." I mean, he did like I think midway through his whole Marvel run on the MCU, he did like 2 or 3 films. Some of them were hits, some of them weren't. So,
Mhm.
it just all depends on the actor, I guess.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like, I know, Hugh Jackman. I was like, Wolverine, Hugh Jackman. Hugh Jackman, I think, has done a wonderful job of, like, keeping a good balance of other
Yes.
movies he's been in and remaining not necessarily Wolverine. Yes, he's always going to be Wolverine, that's pretty clear, um, but I think a lot of the work that he's put in other films has really done him great, like, Greatest Showman, you would never have told me Wolverine and Greatest Showman would have been mentioned in the same universe. Like,
I just recently watched The Greatest Showman. That movie was amazing. I
mhm.
actually really, really loved it. I knew that he could sing, as far as Hugh Jackman, I mean, but that was great. That was a great movie.
Oh, yeah, I love that one. I'm gonna I'm gonna have to convince somebody to come on for Slice Film and do that one with me because that just is so good. Um, the next bit of news we have, and it's not really much news, but, Indira Varma says Ewan McGregor and Deborah Chow have made This Beast, talking about Obi-Wan Kenobi, feel like an independent movie. And so as we know, filming is currently underway for the show. 6 episodes supposed to premiere next summer is what it's looking like. Um, and so she was interviewed by Metro News about all of her current projects. And the first 2 questions were about Obi-Wan Kenobi in that interview. So she said, "It's such a beast, like an octopus that needs wrangling, but I'm having a brilliant time. Obviously, I can't say anything about any of it, but director Deborah Chow and Ewan McGregor on the acting side have somehow made it feel like an independent movie. Everyone has input, there are no fraying tempers." And when asked about her background on Star Wars, she added, "It's all new to me and really embarrassing. I keep getting called out on stuff, but I did play Princess Leia in the playground when I was 6 without having seen it. I had long plaits so I could do the hair. I've watched all the old ones now, but I wouldn't say I'm up to speed. I'm still not sure what order they all go in."
I am not familiar with this actress like almost at all. So every single time I see this set photo, because it's always the one where she is walking like behind the scenes,
Yeah,
in her costume, she always looks like I don't know why, but from the side profile, Jennifer Connelly.
Jennifer
Always.
Connelly.
And I'm just like, I didn't know she was in this movie. And then it always corrects me whenever I see like the little description down below. Uh, but it she totally does. I'm still like super excited about this show. The idea that the feeling kind of is like an indie movie.
Yeah,
Uh, I don't exactly know how I feel about that. Especially if it's like, Star Wars is the definition of sci-fi.
oh,
And
yeah,
I've never seen an indie sci-fi movie, you know? So I don't know how I feel I'm when she does say indie film, I'm sure she means more of like on par with the acting and how a
yeah.
lot of people, for instance, in my neck of the woods in DC, Robert Pattinson did many, many indie films in order to finally get his job at DC and WB with the Batman. So I know
Mm,
people take indie films very, very seriously. It kind of evolves them as a character actor. So in that sense, I'm interested to see how this show plays out. But overall, I really do just want just like great Star Wars content.
yeah. A lot of her content movie-wise is indie film based. Like one of her first roles was in the 1996 film Kama Sutra: A Tale of Love, and I've never heard of that film. So, um, Clancy's Kitchen, Sixth Happiness, Jenna, Mad Dogs, Rover's Return. Nathan's in the chat. He said, "I know. Oh, I could probably show this. I know Chow is going to kill the action on the show. Um, Mother of
Making
Sand Snakes.
and also he's making comments about Pattinson as Batman, the bat that sparkles. I
Nathan, you can hate me all you want, but I love Twilight.
I liked everything except for the first movie. The first movie I felt like was a little too cringeworthy, but they took it in a completely different direction as far as directors, for the last three. So I
Yeah.
can't complain too much on Twilight.
Oh yeah, definitely. Um, where was I? And a lot of people are going to be like, well, how does she know nothing about Star Wars? Why is she in this then? She's an actress. So, sorry, I'm laughing at Nathan. He said his wife loves Twilight as well, so it's on all the time in their house. Um, so Indira Varma's an actress. She doesn't have to know anything about the story as long as she can pull off the character and make it look real on screen. So for me, that's it. Now, a showrunner or a part of the writers group, that's a little bit of a different story. But granted, as long as the showrunner knows what they're talking about with the Star Wars universe, then I'm pretty well set, I think, because I'm like, okay, as long as someone's there to correct them on canon or like, actually this has been used, but it was used 200 years ago in this universe, so we can't use it here, so we're gonna have to name it something else. So as long as that's there, that's fine. But and that's not Indira Varma's role. So
Yeah, and we know that there are actors in the Star Wars universe of films that are really hardcore into this stuff, aka a very famous video that keeps getting recycled almost every freaking month is the Freddie Prince Jr. just kind of going off on some supposedly fans of Star Wars, and he shows his knowledge of everything. Same thing with Sam Witwer. Sam Witwer
Yep.
is hardcore into the knowledge as well. He goes so far as to like be freaking streaming I think it's Rogue Squadron, the video game on Twitch, and he talks about Star Wars stuff. Like, you're right. There's actors out there who honestly couldn't care less about Star Wars as a title or as a movie or show or
Yeah,
whatever. It is just a paycheck for them. And yes, they can have fun doing it, but that doesn't mean they have to now go buy every single High Republic book, every single Legends
yeah,
book, and be entirely into the fandom.
yeah. You you can consider it just a job, people, and a lot of these people, that's what it is for them. So, Nathan's got one final chime in. Of course, got to share his opinion. So he said, "I have faith in her acting abilities after seeing her in Game of Thrones, and hell yes, when I saw her get cast for Obi-Wan Kenobi, I was ecstatic because I was like, oh yes."
I have only seen the series finale of Game of Thrones, so I have no idea that I had no idea she was from Game of Thrones. Yeah.
Why have you only seen the series finale for Game of Thrones?
So everybody always tells me, go watch Game of Thrones, go watch Game of Thrones. And I'm a little bit of like a hipster. When somebody tells me to go watch something, I'll just say no because you're telling me to do it. And then the day that the series finale was on, my stepdad, and I apologize for my dog, um,
You're good.
my stepdad just turned it on, and I was like, "Oh, hey, this is the series finale. Everybody at work was watching this," and he's like, "Yeah, you want to watch it?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." And I just sat down, I watched it. Some stuff happened. I was like, I don't know what's going on. This is kind of cool. There's a dragon. All right, yeah. And I mean, I guess that like now that it's over, I can finally try to sit down and watch it. But people, I have 7 podcasts. There's no time for me to watch anything extra anymore. So,
So leave a comment down below if you're thinking that Clay and I should now take up a live commentary podcast for Game of Thrones. Once a
oof.
week, we go through a Game of Thrones episode.
Once a week. Okay. So there's 8 seasons. How many episodes are in a season?
It took Matt and I approximately like 4 months to do all 8 seasons, and we were watching 2 to 3 episodes a week.
That is insane.
Yes.
That would be I mean, I have HBO Max, so I can't like say, "Oh, I can't watch it." So,
Right. So there's 73 episodes.
oh my gosh. So close to syndication, but really doesn't matter nowadays with streaming, so.
Mm. Um, so moving on, the next bit of news, um, the Mandalorian season 3, it feels like it keeps getting pushed back in terms of when it's supposed to start filming because I thought it was supposed to start filming summer 2021 and now it's like we'll start filming soon. We'll start filming soon. So I'm like, when is it going to start? Anyways, Giancarlo Esposito um it says they just finished shooting Boba Fett and soon they will start on season 3. And a lot of people have comments up in the air with Pedro being involved in The Last of Us for HBO Max, which is a role he will be filming until June of next year, apparently. Um, and so the people are basically commenting on that, and Giancarlo's like, "Uh, no, we don't ever have to wait on him. So
I
he
mean,
lives in a helmet most of the time, people."
that was one of the biggest things. And then some people were saying, "Oh, well, does that mean he's never in the costume?" Well, you've clearly seen scenes where he takes off the helmet. Now, I'm sure Pedro would want to be there on set doing what he can, but of course he has other obligations. So I think there could be just as good as a production with a stand-in stunt double with him in the suit, and then the because what per season we saw Pedro without his helmet a total of
Maybe 3
twice,
times.
3 times. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, 3 times, 3 times. Spoilers for a show that we all watch. Um,
You're here, you should have at least, probably.
so a total of 3 times. I am sure that, like, right before they go into, like, the nitty-gritty of the post-production, that they can just film those scenes of him taking off his helmet where he needs to, and then boom, everything will be just fine.
Because and I don't know much about filming, y'all, so I'm sorry, but I can't imagine that The Last of Us show for HBO Max is going to be filming for 9 months. Like, it's just
The only reason why I would say maybe
I mean,
is because of this new wave of the Delta variant going on in the US right now. During that time, it was, or during just the regular COVID, pandemic or shutdown or whatever, it was extending productions on both TV and movies.
yeah.
And they were able to kind of speed that up once everybody started to get vaccinated with the new Delta variant. I'm sure people, just because of the horrendous, 2020 wave, pretty much got everybody spooked in the sense of like, oh my gosh, there's a new variant. People are going to start having flashbacks of what 2020 was like, and they're going to be hesitant to do stuff. So, and I wouldn't be surprised if even actors do that as well. Safety first. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
And so because of that, it may extend some productions. Now, I'm sure
Gosh,
there
I
are
hope not.
I'm sure there's going to be some productions that just say, "Hey," cuz I'm pretty sure that just here recently Hollywood has started, or well, I know at least Netflix has. They have started basically saying, "Hey, every production, everybody needs to be vaccinated, fully vaccinated before a production can start." Um, so I don't know if everybody will start following suit as far as like Disney and WB, Hollywood in general, and things like that.
Yeah.
So I would hope so. And then if that's the case, then people can be a little bit more comfortable with being able to do full productions without having to have those setbacks.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry if you're watching, my bangs are bugging the crap out of me. Um, yeah, I can't fuck COVID, man. I'm so sick and tired of it. Go away. Just go away. Um, that's all I can say about that because, like, literally, it's just like everywhere I look is COVID, COVID, COVID. So people get your shit together. Let's like figure it out. So, um, yeah, I just it keeps getting pushed back, and I don't know if that has to do with like HBO Max pushing The Last of Us back, but I'm like 9 months of production time because we're in August now, and he's had this role for X amount of time, and I don't think he's filming any other projects. So,
I don't believe so. I think the only role he has really been announced for is the HBO Max Last of Us show. So I don't think he really has too much on his plate. Uh, and majority of the time, how it used to be before COVID, people would be like, okay, I'm going to film this for 2 weeks and then I'm going to go fly to this location and I'm going to film this for another 2 weeks, and then I'm gonna
yeah.
come back and finish that. But again, because of COVID, flights are different now. Once you go into a completely different location, you're gonna have, like, if it's, especially if it's like going to, and I don't know where these productions
I don't know
are,
where they're filming.
but for my experience in the sense of like watching CW shows in Canada, it is an automatic, hey, I don't care if you're fully vaccinated or not, 2 week uh, quarantine, and then you can go out and do whatever.
Mhm.
So I don't know if productions are having people do that as well, going just across the US or not. So
Yeah. Well, it looks like, so I'm looking at it and it says it's so obviously Last of Us based on the 2013 game. Uh, The series is said to be the largest television production in Canadian history, and it began filming last month in July 2021 and is expected to end in June 2022, which I'm like, okay, wait,
That's
this show is supposed to premiere in 2022. So what the
mhm.
fuck, man? Oh, anyways, this is not a
Well,
video game show.
again, it could be because other people have projects
Yeah,
that are in the US and they're having to go to Canada. And like I just said, Canada has these rules set. It doesn't, they don't care if you're fully vaccinated or not. They're going to keep people safe and they're going to
yeah.
have you quarantine for a total of 2 weeks. So
Safety first, y'all. Safety first. It'll be okay. It'll be okay. Can we have more animated Star Wars stuff though? That's not the Bad Batch because at least that can be done from home. Anyways, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. um, let's go ahead and take the first ad break, and we will come back for more Star Wars news. Stay tuned. And three, two, one, and we are back. Thanks for listening, y'all. Greatly appreciate it as always. Next things up on the list. Nathan and I talked about this a little bit. But in terms of Star Wars video game news, Star Wars Hunters, which is a Nintendo Switch game by Zynga.
yeah, Zynga.
Um, and it won't be ready for a full launch before 2022, which I believe it was set to premiere this coming fall. Um, so it makes sense of the delay because we really haven't seen much gameplay footage, if any. Um, However, it is what it is at this point. EA had on on the other side of Star Wars video games, EA had a conference call which included a mention of Jedi Fallen Order, which released in 2019. Still haven't finished that one, y'all. I'm sorry. Um,
You're missing
and
out.
I figured out like the role play ones are just not for me. Like where I'm just like having to play through a story because I have Spider-Man too, and I've heard so many good things about Spider-Man. I can't seem to like pick it up and finish it. So
I will say I have been waiting for Fallen Order to make a announcement for a sequel. Just because like Cal Kestis as a character
hmm
throughout Fallen Order is a character that you completely fall in love with. And I really do hope that canon wise we're able to see him outside of the video games. Um Small spoiler because I'm don't know if you've gotten this far, but
I've read a lot of spoilers, so continue.
well shoot, I forgot the actor's name that plays Sol Guerrera. He's Sol Guerrera
Yeah,
is in Fallen Order.
yeah,
Uh and so if he can be in live action animation and now in a video game, then we need to see Cal somewhere. And I'm really hoping that we get some news soon. And I say soon within the next like 5 years. I'm not saying soon as in like, hey, I need it
yeah,
now. Um, but within the next 5 years, I hope that we get to see Cal in somewhat of live action or animation.
yeah. It would be cool, and it would have been cool to see him as the Jedi that comes and gets Grogu at the end of the Mandalorian season 2. But it was a good spot for Luke to come in, so but it would have been cool to see him come in, I think.
Oh yeah, like I think that was a few there was like rumors or just like people making predictions that like oh maybe it is Cal that shows up
Yeah,
at the end. Um I would have loved it just because I think like at the moment you see the when at that moment when you see the X-wing you kind of have to make the assumption you're like holy crap they're actually bringing Luke into this, but
yeah,
I I just hope that because like your small offhand comment said, I would like something a little bit different from Bad Batch. Um, and we are getting that in Visions pretty soon.
Yes.
So I'm excited for that too. I just give me all of the Star Wars content. I'm consuming everything right now, and it's great.
Sorry. Uh, but the other thing that I wanted to talk about with video games, which is mentioned in this article, thank you Star Wars Newsnet again for providing me all of my Star Wars news for the past 2 weeks. Uh, where the hell is the news on Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga? Where the hell is it?
I almost forgot this was a thing, to be completely honest. And even
It
in the
was supposed.
article, it says that it's gone very, very underground. Um, I don't know. um,
It was
in
supposed to come out last Christmas.
Was it last Christmas that was supposed to come out?
Because this Star Wars, okay, Lego Star Wars has been like my video game forever. Like I love playing those games. Like that was what I played on my PS2 when I was a kid. Like I just remember cycling around Texas Diner going, "Okay, cool. Like now we're going to Tatooine and blah 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 and all these places." I'm like, "Where is it? Somebody tell me where is it? Please."
That is interesting. So the last Lego game in general, I think, was Jurassic Park. I'm
That sounds
pretty
right.
sure. Um, but it's so weird that I'm trying to think. It is an EA game, correct?
I
Legos?
think
No, no,
so.
no. EA is Fallen Order. Lego Star Wars falls under. I don't know who makes the Lego Star Wars games. That's so weird. I'm gonna have to check that out.
Disney
Snell, I know
games.
you're gonna be listening to this. Snell, uh, freaking message us after this and let us
Let's
know.
still listen to these because the last time we talked on SCS 100, he said he wasn't listening to Star Wars Alliance.
That's very hurtful, Snell. That's very hurtful, considering what's going on behind the scenes at the GUA. We may have some Patreon content, and you're not listening to Star Wars Alliance. Ugh. See, and this is why the beef continues. I'm just gonna say that also. It's just uh, it's very bothersome. But Lego Star Wars, I was never really a fan of this. Um, I fell into the trap of being an adult and was like, you know what? Star Wars is for kids, or not Star Wars. Lego is for kids. Legos are for kids.
No.
No, no, no. These games are actually really freaking brilliant. And the reason why I got back into these games were actually because of Lego Dimensions, where you
Lego
can,
Dimensions.
it had it was basically the equivalent of what Disney had for, shoot, what was that game? uh, where you can have all of the little toys and put it into the portal and you can play those characters in the game. I forgot what that Disney game was.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what that is.
But Lego Dimensions, it was completely different genres, DC, Marvel, Doctor Who, Star Wars, everything. And there was this little portal that you would have sitting on your table, desk, wherever your console was, and you would put the Lego onto the portal and you could use that item and or character in your game.
Oh.
And so it got Lego collectors to buy more toys in order to play the game, because there was I think I still own, there's a Supergirl Lego that was for Dimensions that I have never opened. It was a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive that you can't buy anywhere else, and I have it somewhere in my closet. Um, but that got me back into the Lego stuff. When I heard that the entire Skywalker saga was going to be in a Lego game, I said, okay, I'm not going to go hunt my way into getting all the other games,
That's what I
because
said.
I'm just going to buy this game and I'm going to play it for a year. I completely forgot this was a thing. And now I'm wondering right now, the next video game awards type stuff that does announcements would possibly be PlayStation, but I don't see Lego announcing something during a PlayStation event. It's so weird.
Um, so okay, where does it say this? Okay, so the official EA Star Wars account teased last month that after missing this year's E3, next year they'll be unveiling their next projects from a galaxy far, far away. So that's the only thing in this article that says anything about announcements or anything. And
Okay.
I'm just like, why can't we get good? Like the last thing we had on the Skywalker saga from Lego was all of us at TT Games are working hard to make Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga the biggest and best ever Lego game, but we're going to need more time to do it. We won't be able to make our intended spring release date, but we'll provide updated launch timing as soon as possible. That was April 2nd, 2021. I'm really glad they didn't put that out April 1st because I would have been really pissed. Um, and it is now August 9th, and I'm like, can we at least have like some news? Like, I don't know anything about video game delays, but I feel like this is the biggest delay in video
Well,
game history, but I know that's
so
not true.
the big thing now, going into more of the video game content stuff, we did talk about this at the Geekverse podcast whenever we were doing E3, but and just recently on Snell's Thought Bubbles solo podcast where he talked about uh, I forgot which game it was, but there was another game delay. Um, Recently, the new Xbox and the new PlayStation 5 are your next gen consoles. A
Right.
lot of game developers are wanting to make their games for those consoles. So in order to do that, you have to upgrade your game. You have to upgrade the graphics. You have to upgrade the processing. You have to do so much to make it a next gen gaming game. And in order to do that, there are going to be setbacks like delays. So I can see them making this Lego Star Wars game, the Skywalker Saga, and then the announcements for PlayStation 5 and the Xbox One X or One S or whatever alphabet letter they're at over there on Microsoft. And they're like, crap, we have to make this game fit that narrative for the new gen consoles. They can't, like, because unfortunately, you think people are bad whenever they're commenting on CGI of like Marvel movies and DC movies. When it comes to video gaming and the graphics in that, people are harsh, super harsh.
Mhm.
If like these characters aren't literally walking out of your TV, people are always complaining and that is just not good enough. So I can totally understand why this game would then want to be delayed in the sense to make customers happy when they eventually buy this game for a PS5 or an Xbox.
I don't know why the video game console people wouldn't like share that console with their video game makers. Like, don't you want people to like actually buy the console and have games to play, or you just want people to buy the console and be unhappy they don't have games to play?
Well, and it's not like they'll only make it for those consoles. They are also making it for the younger consoles, for like your PS4s and
Yeah,
then your
because I'm like,
Xbox Ones.
I don't
Because
care that much about graphics, so I'm happy with my PS4.
I'm almost even considering now that I have a Nintendo Switch. If I get a Lego game for a Nintendo Switch, I could play it anywhere. That would be
Yeah.
fun.
Oh yeah. I have one of those too. Ooh, that's a good idea. Anyways, sorry for that video game womp rat, y'all. I just don't understand it. I want my Lego Skywalker Saga. So, hey, TT Games, if you need a beta tester, please let me know. I'll beta test it for you. I don't care. He's laughing. I'm serious. What do we have next? Um, so let's
The
talk about the exciting news
announcement.
first. No, let's talk about we have another Lego piece to go to because I want
Okay.
to end on a poor note instead of like sorry, I'm being pessimistic, y'all, but I'm really not excited about the announcement. It's like really bad, okay? All right, so we have another Lego holiday special coming to Disney Plus, and it is Lego Star Wars Terrifying Tales, which is coming to Disney Plus October 1st. And the synopsis is after the events of Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, Poe Dameron and BB-8 must make an emergency landing on the volcanic planet Mustafar, where they meet the greedy and conniving Graballa the Hutt. The crime boss has purchased Darth Vader's castle and is renovating it into the galaxy's first all inclusive, Sith inspired luxury hotel. While waiting for his X Wing to be repaired, Poe, BB 8, Graballa, and Dean, a plucky and courageous young boy who works as Graballa's mechanic, venture deep into the mysterious castle with Vader's loyal servant, Vanni. Along the way, Vani shares three creepy stories linked to ancient artifacts and iconic villains from across all eras of Star Wars. As Vanny spins his tales and lures our heroes deeper into the shadowy underbelly of the castle, a sinister plan emerges. With the help of Dean, Poe and BB-8 will have to face their fears, stop an ancient evil from rising, and escape to make it back to their friends. Dun dun dun!
Speaking of Star Wars hotels, did you hear about the immersive Star Cruiser over at Disney World?
$4,500 for 2 nights.
Two
For two
nights.
people.
2 nights. Okay. I spent that much for wait, what was it? 4,500? I
Yeah.
spent that much for 5 days at Disney World all around,
Mm-hmm.
and I was able to go to different parks. This is like, hey, you're in this hotel, you're going to be like LARPing basically. So like get your costumes, like freaking try to learn Twi'lek and like all of that. Like it's supposed to be
Huttese. Oh, I want to learn some Huttese, y'all.
it's supposed to be like an immersive experience. But for only 2 days, that is absolutely insane.
Yeah. And I'm like, I want to go so bad, but it's never gonna happen. Like, y'all, I spent that much on my elopement and cruise combined. Combined. The cruise was 7 days long, and my elopement was 5 hours. So, never gonna happen. Unless Disney, you want to give me one for free, but we'll review it.
we
We'll
can we,
convince
we can get
people.
sponsored.
If you want to sponsor Star Wars Alliance so we can go on this immersive vacation, hit me up.
I want
Star
to
Wars
build
Alliance on Twitter without the A in the wars.
I want to build a like I know like because I've seen enough videos that like the lightsabers at Disney World are not the greatest that can be
Mhm.
made, but just for the experience, I want to build a lightsaber at Disney World,
Oh
like
yeah.
Galaxy's Edge.
Oh yeah. Me too. Like I'm depending on how things go with like Delta and everything, I'm like, Matt, for our 1 year anniversary trip, can we go to Disney World and I go build a lightsaber? So
Nice.
we'll see what happens. And so the terrifying tales. I'm very excited about this. We've got Jake Green as Poe Dameron, Raphael Alejandro as Dean, Dana Snyder as Graballa the Hutt, Tony Hale as Vanny, Christian Slater, which everyone was really excited about him. I don't know if I've ever seen him or heard him in anything, but he's appearing as Ren, which I'm assuming is Kylo Ren. Um, and then you've got
You
Trevor
don't know
Duvall.
who Christian Slater is?
No.
I'm trying to think if there's anything that we've talked about in the GUA that would have Christian Slater in it. Because I know if I know the one movie that I'm thinking of, you will not know. Um, yeah, I don't think he has like
I'm a
Mr.
Wikipedia
Robot,
person,
the
y'all.
TV show.
Haven't seen
Did
it.
you didn't watch that show? Okay. Um, shoot.
Oh, I've seen Austin Powers' International Man of Mystery, but he played the easily fooled security guard as an uncredited role, so I probably don't remember him.
um,
Y'all, I'm getting
I'm
like with all the laughter today.
because I'm even looking at his as just like you're doing his wiki. I'm doing his IMDb. These like you were way too young to be watching any of this stuff. Like for me, I always know him from Broken Arrow back in '96. That was like right before you were born. So
Never seen it. I did see We Can Be Heroes, but I don't remember it because I thought the movie was crap, so Katie's hot takes on
oh,
trying to
you know
figure out who
what?
Christian Slater is.
You know what? We for slice of film, I'm writing it down.
Me
We
too.
will watch Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. That is the uh freaking Kevin Costner, Christian Slater, Morgan Freeman, Alan Rickman is in that movie.
Ooh, you've already got
Yeah.
my attention.
Yeah. No, yeah.
See?
I know you haven't seen this movie. So
No, I
write it
haven't.
down. Yes,
I
we
wrote
will
it down.
plan
I'm now on my second post-it notes of movies for slice of film.
that.
I have seen The Office, but I don't remember that episode. Haven't seen Two and a Half Men. Haven't seen Mr. Robot. Um, haven't seen Justice League Action. Haven't seen Rick and Morty. Nope, nothing on here. So you got me on The Office and We Can Be Heroes. Oh, and Austin Powers, wherever that one is.
No, we will have fun. Like I feel like you're gonna tear the movie apart, but I will say everybody loves Alan Rickman as his character in that movie. I'm not gonna spoil it for you, but we will watch it and we will do a slice of film on it.
Yes. There we go, y'all. Um, Mary Elizabeth McGlynn is going back to the casting list. Sorry, y'all. Transitions are important. Is NIL8, and David Shane returns as the writer and executive producer for the Lego Holiday Special, as does Ken Cunningham. So I'm very excited about this. Love me some Lego stuff, as y'all heard. So, um, very excited. Clay, what do you think?
I'm I have not watched the Christmas special yet. So I need to watch that one. And then I will kind of see how these productions are because this is exclusive to Disney Plus, right?
Correct.
Okay. I have watched the Lego like stuff that was I think there was a few like random Avenger Legos like Spider-Man stuff on
Yeah.
Netflix back in the day. I've watched a few of those. Comedy was pretty good. I've seen maybe one or two of the Justice League stuff. So if Star Wars is within the same realm, I'm probably totally gonna love it. So
I loved it. It's so good. And it brings me back to my childhood because this was stuff that I was allowed to watch. So with that, the last piece of news we have for the day. The Bad Batch was renewed for season 2, and it's coming in 2022.
Oh, I
I've never been so disappointed in new Star Wars content.
I don't know if like I remember saying something like this would happen, but I feel like I did. I feel like Nathan did. And if
Mhm.
so, we told you so. Because this has been such a weird season. Uh I immediately sent this link to, or when it was announced, it was like really early in the morning, and I immediately sent it to Nathan, and he gave me the emoji with a monocle and like the questioning kind of face.
Yeah.
And I hope that the entire second season structure is completely different. I really hope. And I unfortunately feel like season 2 was probably already in the works. It's not like, hey, we're
Yeah.
announcing it to work on it later. They're probably like maybe a quarter of the way finished or whatever, as far
With
as
it
like
airing
script
in
writing and stuff like that.
2022.
Yeah.
uh,
So I'm probably wrong on this, but I really hope that they change the structure of how they want to tell this story.
I cannot tell you, like, and I've said it every single time we reviewed episodes, but I enjoy the individual episodes. Like I really enjoy the animation. Animation is on par, like y'all. It's incredible, and I'm never going to like automatically hate all new Star Wars content. It's just probably depending on how this goes. And I told Hines that I would give him the season 1 review of the Bad Batch so he can have an episode for superhero discussions on it because it's technically animated and he should get it. Um and I told him I'd watch it again and I'll binge it and we'll see how it flows as a full season. But y'all, right now, we are up to the season finale part 1. And all I feel like we're gonna get is Crosshair's gonna join back up with the Bad Batch. And we can go ahead and dive into the review right now. I don't care. Like,
Spoilers for the last episode, I guess.
yeah, spoilers, whatever. I gave a spoiler warning at the beginning. I hope.
Okay, okay. Um I I kind of said the same thing to Nathan. I said that if this ends with a, oh, you were always our brother, and so, you can always come back and join us, and everything would be hunky dory, and we'd go on great adventures, and let's go find more clones to team up with Rex and all of this stuff. Like, I can see how some of those are fun, but the confrontation that we got in this last episode of The Bad Batch seemed really rushed and forced for the ending of this season.
Yes. Yes.
Like,
And
you
it's
you
like,
you can say that there's been confrontation and there's been uh like you were kind of just waiting for the moment of them like meeting up to finally have that final confrontation throughout the series, but we really haven't. They have not interacted like one on one or
mhm.
one on five with the rest of the Bad Batch to really give a like legitimate story to how this should end or how they feel as characters towards each other. You were kind of just thrown into it all in this episode. And I feel like Lucasfilm is trying to get us to be like, oh, this was so heartfelt. You really feel for him. Like, we should just automatically just like forgive him and love him. And because he was one of us,
Right.
I,
And
I,
even if
I
you're
don't,
gonna say,
I don't feel like that.
even if you're gonna say, oh yeah, let's count on the fans knowing, hey, the Bad Batch had 4 episodes at the beginning of the Clone Wars season 7. That was our backdoor pilot, and now we're here. And that should tell you all you need to know with Bad Batch. It does not. It doesn't.
Nope.
I am so sick and tired of like, oh yeah, there's all this. bondage and ever bondage, like the brothers are bonding and like it's not been there. And there's no character development on any of them. Echo feels like he's a part of the group, but why is he a part of the group? Because he's not he's not modified like the rest of them.
Mhm.
And there's no he like you can see there's glimpses of it in the show where it's like Echo feels left out to an extent and is like struggling with who he is now as a person after he's given all this secret intel to the separatists and now he's just welcomed back in. Like where's the gripping storyline with this? Star Wars has like you can say these shows are animated and they're for kids all you want, so this was like surface level to hit the kids in the right spot. No, it's not. Like adults watch this stuff all the time
I was
and
gonna say,
adults are
have
your
anybody
primary
seen
consumers.
Rebels? Like Rebels was rough when it came to like the dark, like deep stuff. Like it
Yes.
like yes, there was moments where you had freaking I always forget the name of the stupid droid. The comedic
Pepper?
relief. Yes, Chopper. And like, yeah, okay, kid stuff. I understand. But they like Filoni made this like universe of the Clone Wars to really feel in the same tone as the movies. And yes, just like Freddie Prinze Jr. says, these are all made for kids. Star Wars was made for kids. Yes, I understand that. Kids are not as dumb as you think they are. They want to learn about these characters, they want to feel for these characters. And yes, they want to have a laugh. That's why you have somebody like a Wrecker do the things
Mhm.
that he does in the episodes, which I am not like, I'm not against whatsoever, but I need something to fill the void of episode one to the last episode to tell a story.
Weird because you spent time on filler. And don't get me wrong, there's plenty of ways to do filler and do it right, but this was not the way to do filler. Like you can tell me all day long that that Hera episode is important, like it's gonna come back later. Why am I invested in the Bad Batch now? You're gonna lose viewers planning, and this is this is the shit we go over with a lot of like DC stuff in particular. You're gonna lose
Yep.
viewers over trying to plan for future movies, future seasons in order in order to develop a like longer storyline. You have to catch people now and connect them to these characters, and they haven't done that. Haven't done that at all. And not to mention, where is the Omega plotline? Where did it go?
Well, and here's the thing. The at the start, almost immediately at the start of the last episode, the finale part 1, you start to know that she knew a lot of different things that nobody else did. She was a character that you can tell at that moment she has secrets. Why does she have secrets? Who is she? Why is she
And why
so
does she
important?
feel so helpless at the beginning of the show? Like,
Yeah, she
if
is
she
so
knows all this
like
stuff, why is she so helpless?
she is so distraught. And like there's a moment where they get into the lift where they go into the platform and then they use the I forgot what it's called, the freaking underwater transport to get
The
in
tube system.
inside. Yeah, the tube system. And she is just broken.
Mhm.
And yes, you can say, oh, it's because she wants to help find Hunter, but like there's something else there. There is clearly something else there. Is it her memories of what this is? Then we go back, like they land in the laboratory where they were all created. Like
Yeah.
you're
And
dropping
she's
these
like, "This
bombs
is
at
where you
the
were born. Like, I was here." And
yeah,
it's
you're
like,
dropping all of these bombs at the end of the season. Like I hope, I hope that in season 2 we get into that stuff. Like we question, okay, like we were modified, but why? And
"Hmm,
like really getting into these character psyches so we can actually have some sort of like connection to them because as of right now, they are just clones that are different.
They're clones that
And
are different.
that's it.
And it's going to end. So Crosshair took his chip out. How he took his chip out, why the Empire said, "Oh yeah, sure, you're a clone. We'll let you take your chip out." And he could have done it on his own, but you're not telling me, okay, the Empire doesn't know that he didn't take his chip out. You can't tell me that at all because the Empire would have lost their shit over it because that was the only way that they thought they were controlling these clones. And some of these clones, yes, have gotten it into their heads, like Gregor, for instance. Gregor is like, okay, yeah, I need to, like, this isn't right. None of what we're doing is right. And I really enjoyed that episode. Gregor getting out of there. I would have liked to see how Gregor made it off planet from the droid episodes in the Clone Wars, but I liked seeing Gregor come back because we know he's there in Rebels. So it's an interesting tie-in, and it helped progress the story. Like that's how you have a cameo that progresses the story, y'all. I'm glad they were able to manage to do it by episode 14 of the season.
Well, even there. So so we know because like you said, Gregor is with Rex and Rebels, right?
Hmm.
Which means in season 2, we're going to have yet another episode that
With
is going to
Captain
get
Wolf.
with Wolf, yeah. And it's just like, okay, are they going to use that as just another cameo episode or are they going to use it to actually progress story?
Hmm.
And I I don't know how to feel. And the reason why is because I want to get to know these characters and I want to be able to say these characters were important enough to have their own show to progress the story of the Skywalker saga because technically that is where we are currently right now.
In the middle of it, right smack dab.
And as of right now, there is nothing to my knowledge that they specifically did that in almost like, well, I'm going to say spoilers for my Suicide Squad review. I said that unfortunately, you take out Harley Quinn, the movie doesn't change. If you take out the Bad Batch,
Nothing
does anything
changes.
change? Does
No.
anything change? Like,
And you could say stuff changes for like Hera and stuff, but you can't tell me you couldn't have put some random bounty hunter there that Sid called in and said, "Hey, you're gonna go rescue them," and they wouldn't have
exactly.
had the same effect. It's the same thing
Exactly.
for what I say for Christmas movies. If you take Christmas out of it, put something else in there for the reason they're having the party or whatever, like, is it a
Die
Christmas
Hard's a
movie?
Christmas movie.
No, it's not.
Oh man.
So,
But that is how I really range for characters. And I know it can be a little harsh because people are like, "Oh, well these are important enough for Filoni and Lucasfilm to create a story for them." But in my eyes, watching this show, yes, I get to say, "Oh, that's so and so," and "Oh, that's so and so," and "Oh, that's technically how this character ends up here later," or "Hey, look, there's the Rancor." You know, all of these different things, but you're putting all of my attention away from the Bad Batch.
mhm.
You're not giving me anything that says, "Oh, I really love this moment because of Hunter or because of Echo or because of Omega." You're saying you're giving me these moments of, "Oh, I really like this moment because, you know, we got to see Gregor," or "Hey, we got to see freaking Hera." Like you're giving me moments away from the characters that you're wanting me to be drawn to. And I don't think that's the greatest way to build a show.
No, and the reason the Clone Wars succeeded the way it did was because it had a huge ginormous cast, but you had episodes where Rex and Cody went off to go check on new clones that were put out, um, onto a post for, like, monitoring stations. You had Ahsoka go off with the younglings and learned about the younglings, but you also learned like Ahsoka learned how to be a mentor in that case instead of just purely depending on her master. And like Fives going off and trying to figure out what the chip was and like how it malfunctioned and like, oh, there's some secret plot here. We weren't put here for the reason we thought we were. Like, so there's all individual storylines with those arcs that make the Clone Wars as a whole, that ensemble cast makes sense. And so
Hmm.
with this, you're literally stuck with the Bad Batch the whole time, but you're also saying, "Oh, okay, here's the Martez sisters. Here's Rex. Here's Gregor. Here's Hera. Here's Caleb. Like Kane, whatever you want to call him. Like here's all these people that you should like that you know and love already. And here's why you should care about the Bad Batch because they're connecting with these characters. But there's nothing connecting the Bad Batch other than they're a bunch of mercenaries.
Yeah.
And why do I care that they're rescuing all these people? If if you could have told me, okay, instead of going to work for Sid, maybe they were working for Rex and Rex was doing the stuff, maybe it gets a little more connected because he's like, okay, you're doing something for good and the Bad Batch isn't just purely trying to survive. Yes, trying to survive is important. I'm not saying that, but it enables you to establish a further connection versus like spending time with Sid on Ord Mantell and trying to help her with stuff. Like Sid's where is Sid in the bigger picture? Like
Yeah,
and
and that is something that I said a while ago is that they took too long, or not necessarily they took too long. Sid as a character and as a plot device took too long. Like they
mhm,
eventually left in order to, get where we are at the finale part 1. But does this mean that like at the end, now that we know that we're getting a season 2, are we still going to be attached to Sid? And still be running missions for her, because I personally don't want that. Like I'm kind of over this whole like, hey, that's the only way we can make money. Like I know it's realistic to be like, hey, you can't get anywhere without credits and you can't like have fuel without credits and all of this other stuff. Out of
they would
sight,
have been fired a long time ago with all the side missions that they take.
yeah,
They would have been
out of
fired.
out of sight, out of mind. I don't care about the actual like handing off of credits. I don't. If you give me a good enough story, I won't even question how they will steal their ships when if they need to steal a ship. Like just give me a good story. That's all I want.
Here's where we're at. We're at the day-to-day shit that doesn't get seen in most movies or TV shows. That's where we're at.
Yes. Yes.
We're learning how Batman makes his coin in the middle of the day for the Bad Batch.
And that is genuine. Like I just recently had this conversation on Batman News Weekly, shameless plug. Um when you put reality into fantasy, i.e., comics, movies, especially in IPs such as Star Wars, it gets a little mundane and it gets really boring really quickly. Now, I am going to have an opinion on the Out of the Shadows, which I will say here, but it's only because it's a part of the Star Wars
Mhm.
mythos, I would say, is politics. Politics plays an important role in Star Wars, always has and always
Yep.
will. That doesn't bother me. That reality of politics created the empire,
Yep.
created rebels. Like that needs to happen. I like I said, I don't need to know every single time the Bad Batch refuels their ship. I don't need to know every single time they need to stop and eat. Like I want them to move forward in the story, and I can see why some of those moments of like, hey, we're gonna run
Some
into
of them
this
are good.
character. Yeah, we're gonna run into this character when we do this, because it would be very hypocritical of us if we didn't give that kind of criticism to the Mandalorian. Mandalorian had that same kind of thing, but not
Yeah.
necessarily as much as the Bad Batch has, right?
And
So
it's not as prominent. Like with The
exactly.
Mandalorian, it played into the story for a
Yes.
good reason. For
Yes.
here, it feels like filler. And when I say I don't need to see the day-to-day shit, I enjoy seeing some of the day-to-day shit because it's nice to know, okay, they are actually reloading their gun in the middle of the movie so that you have more than 6 shots. Like, it's nice to see those kind of tidbits. Like, but most people know in fiction, you've got to refuel your ship somehow. That's all I'm
Yeah.
saying.
If that stuff plays an important role, like
Mhm.
i.e., hey, we only have enough fuel to get us here, and then like they get there, they're stranded, and then like something on that planet happens that is like dire,
Yeah.
like that's how it plays into the story. But like having to keep going back to Sid, hey, we need another job. Hey Sid, we need another job. Hey Sid, we need more money. Like, okay, we've done this. We've done this for 5 episodes now. Okay, we've done it for 7 episodes now. Okay, what are we doing? Like,
And it's one thing if you choose to, like, stick in that direction of constantly going, "Okay, Sid is the first thing you look, Charlie's Angels," like, they're always gonna go talk to Sid at the beginning of the episode. That's fine if you're gonna do that every episode and there's not really an overarching plot through that, or there's not 3 overarching plots to that, I should say.
exactly.
But 1 overarching plot with that scenario is fine. When you've got Omega, Crosshair, like, the rebellion getting started up, the Empire getting started up, like, it's a lot to handle, and you only got 26 minutes for an episode.
Yeah.
And it's like, I really wanna see some of like, I wanna see Avar Chris more in these books, and I wanna see what she's doing, but she's stuck in the day-to-day shit right now, and so she's only appearing kind of when the scenario calls for her.
Yeah, that's also true. Yeah.
And I think that's the perfect spot to transition. We're gonna take an ad break and come back so we can stop bashing the Bad Batch and get to why we're really here. Out of the shadows. Stay tuned, y'all. And 3, 2, 1. And we are back. Sorry, y'all. I just really needed to transition away from that. I need to go to bed at some point today, and I don't like to go to bed angry. So, Out of the Shadows. Second young adult book in the High Republic, phase 1. Which we do know there's going to be 3 waves. And then we transition to the next phase. So very excited. Um, where was it? Oh, so I'm using today we're going to be talking about the full thing, going through like a spoiler review. So if you haven't read this book and you don't want to hear spoilers, here's your chance. Turn it off. Come back when you've read the book, please. I'd love to hear from you. But today I'm using a continuity breakdown resource from Numidian Prime .wordpress.com. I'll leave the link in the description box below. And they typically do this chapter, like they kind of break it out into sections, but it basically just kind of says, okay, like here's kind of connections to the greater Star Wars universe. So in here we've got obviously High Republic connection stories. You do have a connection to Galaxy's Edge. This is for chapters 1 through 7. Sorry. Like Batu is mentioned. The Graf family is introduced, and it was first mentioned in Adventures in Wild Space, which is co-written by Kevin Scott and is fleshed out by him in Star Wars Adventures. Uh, Hynesia and Neryl's Moon are the primary settings of Lando's Luck, which is a middle grade book. Chancey Yarrow organized something called the Lastel Collective, which is presumed to be in relation to the Lastel system from the Lords of the Expanse, which laid on a shipping lane. Xylan Graph uses a datachron, which is similar to a holocron. And the Amorphous Master Nuberon is speculated to possibly be an unknown race of Filler Nitzon, a gaseous West End Games species originally from Alliance intelligence reports. So there's kind of the continuity breakdown from chapters 1 through 7. So, first thoughts. I was really excited to see Vernestra Rowe again. I loved her, and I still love her.
I am I think you said this on the review of when she first showed up in the other young adult book. It was
So
called
she's in the middle grade book,
Middle
Test of
Grade Test of
Courage.
Courage. Yes, and I think we both said at the time, Light of the Jedi and Test of Courage came out. Test of Courage was both of our favorites out of the two on that one.
Yeah.
I really love the characters in uh, in this book, and I really love the characters in Test of Courage. I would love the story of Vernestra animated Disney Plus. Give it to me, please.
Yes.
I feel like her story in particular is so intriguing. She and like I feel like her. I know she wouldn't like it, but her as a character, I kind of just want to give her a hug. And the reason
Yeah.
why is there's this moment where she is talking to who is she talking to? Um, she basically tells them, "I'm not special. I just graduated early."
Yeah.
She graduated from being Padawan when she was 15. She is now 17,
Mhm.
and she now has a Padawan of her own. Being There's so many characters in this book. I will just say that also. And I do apologize if I mess up on any of these names. Um, Shoot, it was who is the her Padawan?
Emery.
Emery. Yeah, Emery, the empath. He is also a very intriguing character. Also in A Test of Courage, had a little bit of a mishap in Test of Courage, and then he is now slowly getting better, kind of, unfortunately, through his empath abilities of the Force. He is kind of always in a state of anxiety, which totally understand that, by the way. um I feel like that was a huge kind of story that everybody could relate to. But Vern, or Venestra, because she hates being called Vern,
Yes,
um,
very important.
I really do love her as a character. She is very much somebody who wants to be taken seriously. She's going into, like, technically, if you look at, you know, real life scenarios, she is at an age where if something bad happens, she will be taken seriously as an adult. But like any other day of the week, people wouldn't bat an eye to her because she's still technically a kid, quote unquote,
Yeah.
And it's a very frustrating age, especially somebody who is legitimately special. Like I would totally disagree with her takes on who she is as an individual. And I know
Yeah.
it's more so being humble towards herself and not thinking she's the greatest person ever, which is a good stance to take as a Jedi. But when you find out that you have visions in hyperspace, like, nobody else does that. And it's kind of you're kind of just sidestepping something that's really, really important to you as an individual, just to say that you're not special. That's one thing I
Yeah.
will not agree with. Um, but her story throughout this, absolutely great. I think she handled most of the situations that she was in very well.
Mhm.
But as I said, she wouldn't like when I said I just want to give her a hug, she wouldn't like it. She is very much the staple Jedi. And that's something that I wanted to bring up here today is I'm very intrigued about these High Republic books because yes, there are like still the Jedi code that we all know,
Mhm.
but back then or back now at these High Republic stages of the Star Wars universe, things were a little bit more fluid. Things were like not so set in stone, it seems like. So people are using these like Jedi rules as like guidelines, but also questioning who they are as individuals. And I find that very interesting because at some point from now in these High Republic books to where we start the Star Wars universe as we know it in Phantom Menace, like something happens to like, hey, you cannot go further than what we tell you in the academy that this is the code, this is the code.
Yeah.
And I'm very intrigued by that. I'm very intrigued to see characters talk about relationships, talking about like because I think at one point Vern talks to Emery about like his possible like I can't remember what it was in the situation of like uh
I think it's
Silvestri.
like attraction to another Padawan.
Yeah, yeah, some sort of attraction. And he's like, I can't even get a hold of my own emotions. Like, how would I ever even have those affections towards another individual? Like, even having those conversations, I feel like in the ages of Jedi that we know now, would never have that kind of conversation. You know, it would
Yeah.
kind of just be like a hush. We don't talk about that kind of scenario. So I think it's very important to kind of round these characters out like that. And it's fun. I really do enjoy it.
Yeah, most definitely, and I like how Vernestra kind of comes into her own from this. I talked mainly about the continuity breakdown from chapters 1 through 7, but I like seeing where she comes from going, "Okay, I need to tell Master Selen about my light whip. I need to tell him about X. I need to tell him about Y." And then she gets to the end and she's like, "I'm keeping my own secrets now." And it's like, and she only needs to tell someone if she feels it's necessary. And speaking to the hyperspace power, it kind of almost felt like the way she talked about it at the beginning, that it was going into, like, Skywalker territory for the Chiss. But then kind of as the vision plays out towards the end, and I'm really interested to kind of see how this plays out, but as it gets towards the end, it's really geared towards a specific vision in
Mhm.
mind. But in all actuality, Mari Santek is actually passing down the gift of paths to Vernestra. Is that the way you took that too?
That's kind of how I took it. Now, at the very end, she does like give her a specific path.
Is it a specific path, or is it just like the path is the name of all paths?
No, no, no. So, from how I took it, if the way it's kind of said is that she gives her a specific path that goes out into the furthest reaches of space. I want to know where that is. And well, go
Oh.
ahead, go ahead.
I don't I don't know, I'm like, I really want this to tie into the Chiss and somehow, like, I want the Chiss to be involved, like, I think that would be such a cool tie-in, and you're like, "Oh, yeah, we must rope in any and all, um, friends we can to defeat the Nihil, to defeat the Drengir." Like, the Chiss are your perfect ally here, like, go grab them.
I like, and this is where I'm talking about in the sense of like, and I'm not talking about gray Jedi people. I am talking about how not everything is black and white now because who was it that talked to Vern about keeping secrets? It
Master Comac?
was it Korvac? Okay. He said or she said that like you need to also remember that keeping secrets can lead to dark paths.
Mhm.
So like as a character, you would not think that Vern would ever do that. But like she has learned throughout this entire story that like hey, maybe I should keep things close to the chest because being so open as I have been has kind of lead me to like not so great places.
Yeah.
And her modification for the light whip, I don't necessarily see too much like fruition. Like I don't see it being too much of a problem, but there is that line where her and Wreath are training and Wreath is one doing the more defensive stances while she's doing more of the offensive, like going on to the attack. And she's like, "Oh, I understand that like you're doing that because as Jedi, we should only fight when we need to. And when we need to, it's usually on the defense of those who can't fight for themselves.
Mhm.
Her light whip is not a defensive weapon, it is very offensive. And the very first time that we really see it, I absolutely love it. She uses it in like a very awesome, like lasso deflecting. Instead of just standing there moving her
Yeah.
lightsaber back and forth, she it's really weird. So for this is a visual podcast, also audio podcast, but like I don't have a light whip to show you, but like it's so cool that she can turn it into a whip, but then turn it into a normal lightsaber whenever she wants to.
Yeah.
And it does have its like advantages, and she does say that it does have its disadvantages. Like in close combat, it does nothing. Like
Mhm.
it can really be hindering towards her. And I want to see her kind of get into those moments of like she has like she's kind of forced to use a light whip up close, you know? And not necessarily to see the damage and the chaos, but more so what she will do as a character like in that situation, you know?
Mhm. 'Cause I was really hoping, because I just finished this book probably, like, an hour and a half before we were set to start. But, like, that final kind of when they're all taken down and they're carrying the rebreathers and she puts hers on, I was almost hoping when everybody goes down, I was like, "Okay, time to pull out that light whip. Take the Nihil down. Get him, get him." But you can even see, like, after the fact when her and Jordana go into the Nihil ship, the Gravity or the Heart of Gravity, one of the Gravity something. And Jordana's causing all this chaos and everything and taking people down, and even Vernestra pushes a piece of metal out of the way and takes out several Nihil. She feels sick to her stomach in that instance, and it 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 will be very interesting to see how that late whip plays out because while she was led by the Force to modify her lightsaber into that light whip, she feels so sick to her stomach when she causes that destruction, which is what the light whip's meant to do. It's meant to
Mhm.
cause destruction because no one knows how to face it. And like that goes back even into the legends. Like you and I talked about it 2 weeks ago, kind of with Githany with her light whip. But
Mhm.
then like you get into the later legends books at the very end, and Luminara, not Darth somebody. Um, she teaches Jason how to become a Dark Lord, and she actually had a light whip, and she helped Jason kill Mara Skywalker. And the light whip is just so unknown, like it just causes so much destruction, and so it's like I wanna see it, play out like you said. What did you think of the timeline of this? So this book actually takes place not concurrently like Into the Dark does with its adult book. This book actually takes place after The Rising Storm with the chaos at Velo and, the hunt of the Nihil at the end.
Yeah, it takes place. I don't know if it says specifically. Um, I think at one point when who was it? Silvestri is kind of eavesdropping on a conversation. Um, they mentioned, oh shoot, who is Vern's master? Uh,
Ellen Gios.
yeah, Geos. She recognizes the name because, of course, he was the one that was sitting there, like he was the one crying. He was the one that was broadcast all across the galaxy, basically, um, through television feeds or whatever they're called in or hollow feeds. And like she references, oh, so many weeks ago. So time has passed.
Yeah. And
I'm Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Vernestra talks about Velo as well, like at the beginning of the book, kind of feeling like lost in the chaos, and
Hmm.
the reason they carry the rebreathers is because of what happened on Velo. And with it being several weeks later, Sylvester also references like it took chaos on a mid-rim world for y'all to go after the Nihil. So the assault on the Nihil home base has taken place. So yeah.
Yeah. I I think it fit very well for the story that they were telling. The plot twist of uh Sylvester's mother actually being alive and working with the Nihil was something that you can probably guess midway through because they talk about her mom a lot.
Yeah.
And that is kind of like a tropey thing that if, the big reveal does usually come with something that is referenced. But I still loved it because she is so distraught and she just like Emery in his empathic, feelings and powers, she is almost frozen every single time her mother is mentioned.
Yeah.
She is absolutely distraught at the fact that like, her mom left her and then she had to leave her ship that her mom left her. And there's so many dominoes, and because like within like 6 months she also broke up with her girlfriend, and they just so happened to meet back up with the help of Vern and Emery. I i'm okay with the scenario at hand because it still played out very, very well. It played out very well uh for the kind of chaos, like you said, that ensues at the very end, uh because at this moment we see the emergencies as something that is still very much a or was a problem.
Hmm.
This new problem is people are being forced out of hyperspace randomly.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like what the emergencies were, but at the same time it's not so much chaotic. It's not like they're able to refine that hyperspace line to the point of being able to grab a ship and stop it. And
Well, so
that
this
is
is
the
actually a gravity well beacon.
yes.
That kind of just basically turns on gravity and it basically acts like a planet has all of a sudden come into the way of the ship being pulled out and um allows them to come out of hyperspace or allows breaks them out of hyperspace, which we see this kind of interaction. um we see it in the what was it, gravity well projectors. You can see the gravity well projectors in Rebels, and it's even talked about a lot in Thrawn Treason, I believe.
Okay.
So
Where were they
it
in
definitely.
Rebels? Do
I'm
you
looking at the continuity breakdown.
Oh, okay.
Um, so I don't necessarily remember where they're at in Rebels. So sorry.
Okay. Well, I'll have to just look it up myself. But it's cool that they have it right there. Um Now, they talked a lot about hyperspace, and so much so there was a moment where Silvestri, being the pilot that she is, she was like, "Well, maybe I don't know much about hyperspace because there was so much
Yeah,
science into it." Um,
because you got the
but
Professor Gungan,
the Gungan
Professor
and the
Walk.
professor. But there was a moment where they were talking about how, like, most of the time, or if not all the time, majority of people will go into hyperspace like a far outweighs outside of a planet's gravitational pull and or away from a ship, and they do it specifically for reasons of like not harming individuals as well as the hyperspace lanes. But when in my knowledge, I just started kind of getting like really deep into Star Wars continuity and everything else, but this immediately brought me to think about the moment in is which one was it in the recent trilogy where Poe was doing the
Hyperspace skipping.
yeah, which movie was
That
that?
was Rise of Skywalker.
Okay, Rise of Skywalker. And he was going like in planets.
Um, yeah, he basically was just turning it on hyperspace. Hang on. because there's a book that actually does it. Or no, it was the Poe Free Fall book that he does it
Okay.
for the first time. So the Rise of Skywalker was the first introduction for that. But they did make it kind of like a history. Um, so hyperspace skipping for is also known as light speed skipping, was a technique that could be used to quickly jump to hyperspace in a starship. However, hyperspace skipping was dangerous and could put undue stress on the ship, as well as place it in a dangerous location when it exited light speed. Um, and it references the Poe Dameron book incident and the Rise of Skywalker incident.
Okay.
It is
Because
mentioned in a test of courage as well, it looks like. I don't remember that in particular, but
I don't remember in particular in Test of Courage either, but that's essentially what the Nihil are doing, because there's moments in this book as well as others where the Nihil are hitting light speed or hyperspace while still in planets' atmospheres, and they're just
yep.
like disappearing, you know? And that's what my like I immediately thought of the Rise of Skywalker. So I was like, oh, okay. Maybe they'll explain a little bit more about it. So it's just something that I thought about during me reading uh, when the Nihil. But also talking about the Nihil, we get another character that we've seen before from Into the Dark. We get
Yes. Nan.
yeah, we get Nan. So I despise Nan. I absolutely despise her
You do?
because of everything that happened in the freaking book of the oh shoot, did I forget of the it's not Into the Dark.
Into the dark.
Like
Is it in the dark?
she is a like double crossing, like oh my god, like I understand that at the end of Into the Dark they really wanted you to like feel for her character, right? Because she also had some mom issues
Yep.
in her relationship, and we figured out that oh, her mother was more involved with the Nihil than she probably thought. Like
Um,
here she is clearly stepped up in her like role in the Nihil, so much so that oh, did you notice, or I don't know if you've listened to it yet, but this book mentions Marchion Rowe as Markion Rowe for the first time in the
does it?
audio. Yeah, in the audio
Okay, I
drama,
don't remember.
this one actually
This is an audio
mentions
book, not an audio drama.
yeah, audio book. Yeah, that was something that I was actually really disappointed in. And I immediately talked to Katie. I was like, "What is happening?" I was really spoiled by Del Rey and their productions in Audible, and like putting music and sound effects and everything else. And then when I listened to this one, it was only the narrator, which is not a problem. I'm not saying that she does a horrible job, but I feel like I was just very spoiled with the other audio dramas.
Yeah.
And so when I listened to this one, I was like, I'm a little disappointed. Um, but it does actually pronounce it Markion Row in this book. It's something I
Okay.
immediately noticed when she said it. Uh, but Markion or Martian, because I just feel like it slips off the tongue easier. Martian Row. Um, puts Nan in a position that she feels is good, but also can be very, very bad. Um, because she has been pretty much put in charge of protecting
Mari
shoot,
Santeca.
yeah, Sinteca. So like she doesn't necessarily know Sinteca, like how important Sinteca is until like midway through the book. And that's when she gets captured, basically.
Mhm.
And things start like at that point, I was like, okay, this is not exactly how I was expecting things to go. How did you feel about like Nan's like whole part of this book?
I found it quite interesting, but at the very end, like, because I really enjoyed her character. I thought like the double cross, like, yes, I hated her for it, but I was like, oh, okay, this makes sense. Um, and so going through this and actually like getting um chapters from her perspective really allowed me to kind of not relate, but relate to her character and figure out kind of what was going on in her head. And then you get to it and it's like, oh yeah, now we're here and Mari Santeca, spoiler alert, very big spoiler alert, is dead. Um, Now what the heck am I gonna do? Because it was her one job was to protect Mari Santeca, and now she's not here. And so Chancey Yarrow actually protects Nan in this case and sends her to go work for the Graffs, who all her assets have been frozen, like they're in big doo doo. um, but Nan is going to now go work for the Graffs and help them kind of establish. I, s- I don't even know what they're establishing, but it's like they're establishing their own regime, kind of.
So how do you feel about the Graphs like as characters? Because his whole thing, like he could not be trusted from the very start. You know, he was a character that very much was like, I think he was the one that came to Silvestri and was like, "Hey,
Yep.
I got a proposition for you. This is what you need to do, and you may need to lie a little bit, but overall, it's going to be really simple job. You'll get a ship, you'll get credits, and you
Yeah.
will both go about our merry way." He is, in my
He was not
opinion,
trustworthy.
not trustworthy. He was very conniving, very slithery like a snake. I'm trying
I
to
like
think
the
of a
way he
character.
dressed, though.
Well, see, that was something. He is an evil freaking who was, oh my gosh, I if you haven't noticed already, listeners, I am very bad at names. Everywhere. DC Comics, Marvel Comics, Star Wars, anything. I am very forgetful and the GUA chat always makes fun of me for it. But he is an evil Lando. He has style,
Yes.
but he's evil. um there was a moment where like he put on like this very, they even said it in the book that like his attire is very much a part of him, not necessarily in his status as like somebody who has money, but is literally a part of who he is as much as a lightsaber is a part of somebody who is a Jedi. That was
Yeah.
the
Analogy, yeah.
comparison or analogy, yeah. But what do you think about the character?
Right. He was creepy in like, "Oh, yeah, I got all this money, you're gonna be fine, don't worry about it." And it's like, dude, do you know who I am? Like, I've never had money in my life." Talking about, like, Silvestri. Um, but it's just like, because every time he turned and, like, having her lie to politicians, and don't get me wrong, politicians are never, like, don't ever seem to be the good guys. Um, but it was all like, "Okay, wait, Sylvester's just trying to, like, make a way for herself in the world, and, like, now you're gonna bribe her by doing this? Really?" So, I didn't like him, and then especially at the very end where he was like, "Oh, yeah, now we're going to this location instead because
I like,
Grandmere's got a
oh,
ship." I was like, "Huh?"
and it was at that point a lot of the characters that we had been following started to kind of pick up on who he is as a character.
Yeah,
So they were like, hey, if we confront him about this, he's probably going to give us a really good excuse, but we can't
yeah.
believe him. We have to kind of like lay it low and kind of like work him a little bit, see if he's lying. And then like as soon as they confront him, Sylvie is like super like just very anxious and
Just
kind of
pissed, yeah.
angry, and she kind of blows up at him and she's like, crap, I should have just left it to the Jedi so that way they can use their weird mind tricks to see if he's lying. And he does give this very elaborate, explanation.
Explanation. Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, well, I can't really trust you guys, and I really can't trust her. So I needed to know if she was really a spy or
Because
working."
Jordana's a Santeca,
Yeah,
which and something we didn't cover was Graphs and Santecas have a very bad they
like a
have very bad blood.
very famous feud, is what Vern kind of explained it as. Like even them being in the same ship or the same room at this point in time was like miraculous or something like that, is what
Yeah.
Vern said. Um, but like he's giving all of this explanation, and they're just like, okay, I don't trust you, but okay, we'll see how it goes. And of course,
Yeah.
it didn't go well.
No, it's not. It's a trip.
I'm trying to think if there's anything. We talked a little bit about Emery. Oh, something else. Um, I was not bothered it by any means. I listened to this twice, and then like right before we started to record, I actually like was starting to read along now that I have the book. Um, this book is in three perspectives,
Yep.
all three of them being female characters. So if that bothers you, I apologize, but it's still a great book. Go listen to it. It does fill a void that we will eventually need, moving forward in this story. I feel like the gravity well plays a huge part in uh, what the Nihil's problem or the Nihil's like plans are for the galaxy.
Oh
Everything's
yeah.
kind of coming
Especially
together.
now that they don't have the
Yeah,
paths.
yeah. Uh, and which will like that's another thing we learn that I think it's Nan when they're getting like the history lesson of like again always forgetting names uh when they're getting the history lesson of who are they transporting, shoot, uh
Smari, Santeca.
Sinteca, yeah, uh that she uh that there's not much to know about her race. And also, we still see in this book that Marcion Rowe is still a very mysterious person. Don't know
Yeah.
much about his family or his race.
Is
We
it
know,
January yet?
we know that a lot of the third wave is kind of going towards him. So we're gonna start to learn a lot about him, which is I'm so excited to get into all of that.
Yeah. I think the name of my game today for today's podcast is I'm impatient. Give it to me now, please.
I you said there's three waves, and then we're going on to a new phase, right?
Yep. So there's 3 phases in the High Republic. There's the Light of the Jedi, the Quest of the Jedi, and then I think the last one was the Fall of the Jedi? I don't
Hmm.
exactly remember, so don't quote me on the last one, but I know the second phase is the Quest of the Jedi. Um, and so this last wave for phase 1 is entitled The Light of the Jedi Goes Dark. So I'm very excited to see what happens. I believe we're going to be getting a lot more Avar Chris in these next books, especially kind of going off of the adult books title The Fallen Star. Um I have a guess Starlight Beacon's about to fall.
Yeah, and we've kind of talked about that like in the last time I guessed
Yeah.
on Star Wars Alliance. It would be huge. I think that because like I said there when we were talking about it, Starlight Beacon is not a thing in any of
Mhm.
the Star Wars films or books prior to this. So
So what
it's something
happened?
it's something that probably needs to happen, but the casualties and everything else, and I think you even posted in the GUA chat. Somebody had like a imploding bomb moment in their head of like Yoda is not a prominent character right now.
Mhm.
We vaguely got a hint of him in the first book, Light of the Jedi, and then again in, I believe it was the um into the was it Into the Dark? I think it was, or was
I
it
don't
Rise or the Rising Storm? Do you remember?
I think it's the Rising
Okay,
Storm, but he also features not prominently, but he's a regular on the High Republic Adventures comic by Daniel Jose Older,
yeah,
which is an IW IDW.
IDW comic, yeah. But there was somebody posted something on Twitter and you shared it with us that we're gonna see why Yoda like is kind of cold and
Oh
malice
yes.
sometimes. We're gonna see him lose everything,
Hmm.
which is gonna be kind of intense.
Yeah. Speaking of Yoda, we actually get our first glimpse at Yaddle in this book, and she
Yeah.
speaks like a regular person.
Yep.
So what did you think of that?
I I wasn't really expecting it. I mean, because she was when they first went into Coruscant, right?
Yeah, so Vern runs into her when she's on her way to Stellan's
Yeah,
office.
yeah. That's okay. I'm trying to remember which part of the book it was.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, it didn't like because I know some people are going to be like, well, that's technically not right. Blah 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 blah. I thought it was pretty cool. I want to know more about them. See, that's the one thing about jumping into the Star Wars universe the way that I have. Like all these things are new to me, but then I get to
Mhm.
kind of like see these characters and like kind of I wouldn't say latch on, but I'd be like, okay, like we have here on the YouTube video for people watching this background. Like I am constantly while I'm reading going on to the Star Wars website and I'm like, okay, I need to put a face to this voice that is in my head. How do
Yeah.
they like how can I expect to because right now me and Katie are both waiting for the trades on most of these comics. So we don't
Yep.
have a face to the names. As much as like as far as like yes, we have them on the cover of books, but a lot of the characters aren't on the covers of these books. So I am constantly looking up. I probably should have it freaking bookmarked on my phone right now. But I'm turning into a Star Wars nerd that I never thought I was going to be.
You're
And again,
welcome.
I will blame Nathan and Katie for that.
Well, it is getting to be about too late for me, y'all. I'm an old woman, okay? I like to go to bed early, and like I said, before we started up, I partied a little too hard this weekend, and I'm still trying to recover. So,
Well, before we jump out of this podcast, we have uh, what was the book that came out alongside The Rising Storm? It,
so you have oh gosh, it's Race to Crash Point Tower.
okay, so I still need to read that one, but uh, High Point Tower, Rising Storm, Out of the Shadows. You have now read all three of these books. Where would you, in this small wave of this section of Phase Two, where would you put Out of the Shadows? Because,
I would
like,
put it
like
at
we
number
said,
2.
you would put it at number two.
Yeah, so I've got The Rising Storm, Out of the Shadows, and then Race to Crash Point Tower. For me, as much as I enjoyed Out of the Shadows, and I really love Vern, I, like, really love her, and I'm glad, like, they're opening it up, like, we've seen Jedi of all sexualities kind of in here, and so to have Vern as kind of the aromatic, asexual character is really good, especially with how prominent she is, um but the Rising Storm really did it for me. Like, Cavan, you murdered me, like, 3 times. I've read it 3 times, and it's like it keeps, like, shocking the crap out of me. I just can't get past it, so
I've read it. I've read it twice. I think after I know that they won't, but I hope that there is enough space between phases or between the phase one that we're gonna get, and I know that with the third wave is coming soon. I
Mhm.
hope that there is enough space between phase one and phase two, and I'm gonna do a full reread of the first phase, um,
Yeah.
just so that way I can have everything fresh in my mind, and almost just like how most of us in the GUA, whenever a new Marvel movie comes out, it's like, oh, time to do the rewatch, all
Yep.
23 films. Here we go. Like
I will be doing the
I'm
same thing.
I'm really starting to enjoy these. Like I have done more reading of novelization that I have done since graduating high school. Um, I have like since graduating high school, I've only been like a comic book reader. Like no pictures, I'm not reading it. But Star Wars has gotten me into this like, hey, I need these stories in my life. They're absolutely amazing. They're fun. And it's something new to this universe to where people can jump in. I think that it's still very early enough to kind of get into it. Even if you don't want to jump into the entire thing, I think going from Light of the Jedi immediately into the Rising Storm, you can still make it work, and that is a
Yeah,
full story on its own. Um,
absolutely.
but I'm yelling it out there into the universe. I'm also gonna talk about this in our Patreon content for those who are patrons. Something is coming up pretty soon, but I am gonna just speak this out into the world. Freaking Kennedy, if you're listening to this podcast, Filoni, if you're listening to this, Vern needs her own animated series on Disney Plus. I need it,
Yes.
please.
I think the High Republic as a whole needs an animated series.
Yes.
Um, and especially in the Clone Wars animation style. God, it's so pretty. It's so pretty. Um, so yeah, I'm excited for the future of the High Republic. Upcoming, we've got the graphic novel by Cavan Scott, which features Ty Yorick, which is a prequel to The Rising Storm. And then Cavan just killing the month of August because I think Tempest Runner comes out August 31st. And then I think the graphic novel Monster something at Monster Peak um comes out tomorrow actually. Um so Cavan's just killing the month of August. Let's just say that.
Did you see Charles Soule is writing his book right now and getting a lot of images for his comic? Because
What?
yeah, I just recently saw it on Twitter. I have, where is it? I think it was yesterday that I posted because freaking there was a picture of Bell and
Oh, he
Loden.
said feels good to be riding Loden Greatstorm again.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's Bell and Loden, and I and I just retweeted it, and I said,
Gosh,
I know pain. I know
oh my
pain.
gosh, I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna cry. Ah,
I'm 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 gonna go ahead, and I'm sure this is part of the Martian Row comic, and they are retelling the moment
my
of
gosh.
Rising Storm.
No, because
I,
he has his mantrals,
oh, he
his
does.
Liku, and he doesn't have his Liku in the book.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Still,
Oh my
God.
gosh.
See,
Okay.
I need to read Light of the Jedi, so at least I get like the good stuff.
Good, good
Again.
Lord, great storm.
Oh man.
So next week for Star Wars Alliance, or next time on Star Wars Alliance, we're gonna be talking about probably the graphic novel. We'll see how fast I can get through it. Are you reading the graphic novel?
I will most likely be reading the graphic novel. When did you say the release date was?
I think it comes out tomorrow. Okay,
If
hang
it
on.
does, I just so happen to be stepping out of my house after work. I will most likely grab it. And if I do, I will for sure power through it so we can talk about it.
I can't find it. Oh my gosh. Amazon is not showing it to me. But yeah, once I get it, I will be powering through it as well. So we should be talking about that next time. We're also going to be talking about Darth Bane, and I still can't remember this novel's name off the top of my head. We'll be talking about Darth Bane #2, the second book in the Legends trilogy. So that is on the topics for Star Wars Alliance next time. We will probably be dropping a short episode next week, just to kind of hit on the Bad Batch finale as a whole, because that is coming up this Friday. Um, so if you're interested in seeing that early, I will probably see if I can drop online Friday around lunchtime and just kind of go live and let's talk about it. Because yeah, I can batch the Bad Batch some more. No, we'll see how it goes. We will. Um, so Clay, tell us where they can find you.
Of course, you can find me. Well, first, the second book of the Bane trilogy is the Rule of Two.
Thank
Um,
you.
yes, which actually, if you look at Audible, it looks like they have the art
They have
for
the new
the.
artwork on there.
Yes, they do, which means that they are probably going to be releasing that soon, and then I can get it and add it to the bookshelf, which is going to be amazing. But of course, you can always find me at Fanboy Clay on Twitter. If you go into the link tree in my bio there, you can look at all of the links to all of my shows, that including Batman News Weekly Podcast, DC Alliance, Comic Book Legion Podcast, Weird Science Marvel Podcast, Weird Science DC Podcast. I'm a guest host on the Weird Science Manga Podcast, as well as the Ranger Alliance Podcast, which is a part of the GUA network. So yeah, 7 shows, 7 days of the week. Doesn't automatically go 7 days of the week, but you could listen to my shows all week if you really wanted to.
So I did find the answer to the question for that graphic novel. Um, so Monster of Temple Peak says it's a graphic novel, but it says it's only being released on Kindle and Comixology on August 11th. So it's on Wednesday. Um, and this is I'm looking on Amazon. So, but it also says that there's a Monster of Temple Peak #2, which will be released September 8th, and then a Monster of Temple Peak #3, which will be released October 27th. So, Kevin, how busy are you?
Oh wait, so 11th for this month,
Here,
then September what?
here, let me just.
Okay,
We've
so
got
September 8th, and then the
close.
last one is in October 27th. So it would look like, if you're looking at the first two, it kind of looks like it's in the same, on like it on par with how a monthly comic would be. But that's weird if they announced it as a graphic novel. How many pages
I'm
does it
very
have?
confused. It
See, it
says
has
35.
30, it has 35 pages, which is a little bit longer than your average comic, one issue comic. But putting them all together would be around your average graphic novel. So
Huh.
we may have to wait until the trade, which would be the graphic novel.
Yeah. I'm sad now. I was excited for more High Republic stuff, but now I've just ruined my night. Anyways, um, Clay is oh gosh, oh please don't pay attention to my YouTube. Stop screen sharing. Stop screen sharing. It's been a long day, y'all. You can find me on Twitter. It's at Slice of Katie. If you've got Star Wars questions, if you've got Slice of Film questions, feel free to hit me up there. If you want to come talk about a movie with me on Slice of Film, feel free to hit me up. I cover a lot of things. I've got 2 post-it notes or a post-it note and a half full of movies that I need to go watch and then get with specific people on the GUA Pod Network to come on and talk about. So it's a matter of how busy are you? Um but I always love having people on to talk. Definitely, if you want to come talk on here about Star Wars, like, let's do it. Come on, let's join us. Join us now. Um, my other show is at Slice of Film One as Slice of Film. Um, Up next, we've got Jungle Cruise and then Jim and the Holograms. So those are the next 2 episodes for Slice of Film. Once again, the next episode for Star Wars Alliance, we will be back on YouTube August 22nd to talk about Darth Bane, the Rule of Two, and I guess no High Republic stuff now. So we'll be talking about Darth Bane, the Rule of Two. So I know like we got a lot of good feedback on the Darth Bane episode. So come back and join us then. But for now, I want to wish everyone a great day. Oh, Star Wars Alliance Twitter is at Star Wars Alliance with the A and the Wars. That's the whole show we're here for. So we should mention that one. Um, with that, I want to wish everyone a great day or night, whatever time of day you're listening, and we'll see y'all next time. May the force be with you.